16-year-old boy is charged with the murder of a Philadelphia rapper. That shooting happened last month in Olney. The 25-year-old rapper Abdul Vix, also known as YBC Dul, was killed.
The alleged teenage shooter is Aiden Waters. The DA says he's the killer of 25-year-old rapper Abdul Vix in a shooting on the 5500 block of North Fair Hill Street in late August.
24 hours after claiming that no one would ever touch him, he was murdered. And they actually arrested a 16-year-old for the killing.
They got surveillance video from Dul's shooting, tracking a vehicle all the way to the back of his parents' home.
Earlier this year, 16-year-old Aiden Walters was hit with some serious charges for the broad daylight murder of West Philly rapper Abdul Vix, better known as YBC Dul or Mr. Disrespect. Vix was off in a drive-by shooting in Olney on August 23rd, and the case quickly made headlines because of how young the suspects were.
The alleged teenage shooter is Aiden Waters. The DA says he's the killer of 25-year-old rapper Abdul Vix in a shooting on the 5500 block of North Fair Hill Street in late August.
Alongside Walters, two other teens were charged, 18-year-old Rashawn Williams and 19-year-old Nair Briscoe. It was already a wild story. But then things took a crazy turn when a fourth person was charged, and it wasn't another teenager. It was Aiden Walters' own mother, 39-year-old Latoya Donaldson. Apparently, Donaldson is accused of playing a direct role in the whole thing by allegedly giving her son and his friends the rifle they used in the shooting. Detectives investigating Vic's death uncovered Ring camera footage from inside Walters' home, and what they found was shocking. According to law enforcement sources, the footage shows Donaldson bringing a rifle downstairs in a gun case and handing it off to the teens. Investigators believe that same rifle was then used to spray bullets into Vix's car as he drove down the 100 block of West Olney Avenue. And as if that wasn't insane enough, there are whispers that this wasn't Aiden Walters' first time pulling the trigger. According to reports, YBC Dul wasn't his first victim, and that Walters might have several bodies to his name.
A 16-year-old with a killing of two and the wounding of others is part of a shooting group known as Fast Break. They've linked Waters to a wave of shootings in Philadelphia last month, along with the counts. He faces attempted murder, aggravated assault, and gun charges.
If that's true, it raises even more disturbing questions, like how involved his mom might have been in any other crimes. Could she have been aiding him in those too? Let's dive in deeper. Since YBC Dul's tragic death, a wave of details has surfaced, and the picture being painted is as chaotic as it is chilling. Surveillance footage released by the police shows the moments leading up to the fatal shooting. Dul was traveling in a white vehicle when another car pulled up alongside and unleashed a barrage of gunfire. Authorities believe he was being followed for several minutes before the ambush. The video reveals two shooters, one firing from the front passenger side and the other from the rear passenger side. It was a calculated, brutal attack.
We are learning new details about the investigation into the murder of a person police say is a well-known gang member. The sound coming from this surveillance video, and it shows the moments someone in a white Hyundai Santa Fe pulled alongside an SUV and opened fire. The deadly shooting claimed the life of Abdul Vix, also known as Young Dul.
That same night, the shooter's vehicle was found burned on the 6900 block of North 15th Street.
The vehicle where the shots were fired from was found burned out on a street nearby.
Turns out, the car had been reported stolen just a week before. Even though the suspects tried to cover their tracks by torching the car, they left behind some key evidence. Detectives recovered a shocking amount of ballistic evidence: 27 7.62 shell casings, one 9mm shell casing, and an unfired 9mm bullet. But that's not all. Fingerprints were found along the car doors, giving police even more leads. The surveillance footage, however, turned out to be the real game changer for detectives. The shooter's vehicle was tracked across a series of surveillance cameras, leading investigators to a back alley near a house on the 1700 block of 68th Street. And here's where things get even crazier. The footage allegedly shows 16-year-old Aiden Walters getting out of the vehicle. He's seen trying to cover his face as he walks into his own house. This sloppy move basically handed detectives a direct connection to him, tying him to the Emder. But here's where things take an even darker turn. Philadelphia police allege that Aiden wasn't just involved in Dul's death. According to investigators, this teenager went on an absolute rampage, K-ing another person and attempting to off-aid others, all within just 5 days.
He also says the teen suspect is connected to several other shootings.
A 16-year-old with a of 2 and the wounding of others is part of a shooting group known as Fast Break.
A week before Dul's Emder, on August 17th, Aiden reportedly paid a friend $100 to steal a car for him in Cheltenham. The stolen Kia Sportage became his go-to getaway vehicle. That same night, the Kia was used in a gunpoint robbery outside Live Casino. Then, just a day later, Aiden allegedly opened fire on the 500 block of Center Street in the Longcrest neighborhood. 2 people were shot, a 43-year-old man who was hit in the stomach and a 14-year-old boy who was struck in the leg. Both victims miraculously survived. But the brazenness of this attack at around 9:50 p.m. shocked the community. And that wasn't the end of it. Days later, the same Kia was used to track and off YBC Dul in a targeted drive-by shooting. Hours later, at about 2:30 in the morning on August 19th, Aiden Walters and at least one accomplice were back at it. This time, they opened fire on a car full of teenagers on the 200 block of East Duncannon Street. Over 24 rounds were fired, leaving a devastating scene in their wake. 2 16-year-olds were hit during the ambush, and tragically, one of them was shot in the head and offed.
2 men are dead tonight. These shootings happening just a few hours apart, but police say right now it's too early to know if they may be connected.
By 4 a.m. that same morning, the shooter's vehicle, a Hyundai Sonata, was found abandoned on the 6500 block of 10th Street. But here's where the story gets even crazier. Investigators discovered that a cell phone had been connected to the car's system. With access to the phone's data, detectives uncovered a treasure trove of evidence. This included video jail calls between Aiden and some of his friends who were locked up. These calls, which took place on August 20th, revealed a chilling glimpse into Aiden's mindset and how he allegedly operated. Using code words to describe his violent spree, Aiden spoke as if the streets of Philly were nothing more than a basketball court. He referred to shootings as scrimmages and Emders as slam dunks, casually describing the chaos he and his crew had unleashed. In one video call, Aiden can be heard bragging about how there were 2 scrimmages in one day, one of which ended in a slam dunk, while the other, in his words, went in and out. This wasn't just bravado, it was a chilling lack of remorse. But as much as Aiden seemed to think he was untouchable, his slip-ups were starting to pile up. For starters, the arrest affidavit revealed that he allegedly paid a friend just $100 to steal a car for him. Now that might not seem like much, but it says a lot about who Aiden was working with. Many people suspect he was paying other teenagers to do his dirty work because, let's be real, no grown man is risking it all for a measly $100. The fact that police were able to connect these dots so quickly has led some to believe that someone close to Aiden is talking. Whether it's one of his associates flipping under pressure or a slip-up on his part, it's clear that his confidence may have been his downfall. One of the biggest mistakes was using a stolen vehicle with his phone still connected to it. That one oversight gave detectives access to damning evidence, including the incriminating jailhouse calls where he essentially narrated his alleged crimes. And it doesn't stop there. On August 31st, police executed a search warrant at Aiden's home, uncovering an arsenal in his basement. Among the items seized was a 10mm Glock outfitted with a red switch for automatic fire, a laser, and an extended magazine. They also found gun accessories that painted a picture of someone who wasn't just into casual firearms, but was actively preparing for serious violence. But the real bombshell was the discovery of a 9mm Glock. Ballistic tests confirmed that this Glock was the Emder weapon used to off YBC Dul. Not only that, but it was also linked to 2 other shootings, further cementing Aiden's alleged role in this spree of violence. It's almost unbelievable that he kept the same gun used to off one of the most notorious rappers in Philly sitting in his basement. But this is where the story takes a wild turn. A 4th suspect was arrested, and it wasn't some random street associate, it was Aiden's own mother, Latoya Donaldson. That's right, the 39-year-old woman is now accused of playing a direct role in these crimes. Investigators say Donaldson provided the rifle that was used in the shooting.
Well, according to reports, Aiden's mama, Latoya Donaldson, provided Aiden the rifle that he used to kill young bag chaser Dul.
Ring camera footage from inside their home captured the moment she allegedly brought the rifle downstairs in a gun case and handed it off to Aiden and his friends. Detectives believe this was the same weapon used to spray bullets into Dul's car on August 23rd. As wild as this whole situation sounds, some people aren't even surprised. They're saying this kind of thing happens all the time in neighborhoods like these. It's tragic, but in the ghettos across America, stories like this are almost a part of life. Picture this. A kid runs into the house, panicked, yelling, "Mama, they're trying to off me. They shot at me." What's a mother to do? In many cases, the mom, desperate to protect her child, will hand them a weapon, a gun, a knife, a bat, whatever she has, and tell them, "Here boy, go handle it. Go get them up off you."
This happens all the time though. It do, y'all. I mean, it's unfortunate, but in the ghettos across America, your mama would give you a gun to go take care of some business on somebody.
But what often gets overlooked in these situations is the bigger picture. That mom isn't thinking about the consequences beyond the immediate danger. She's not sitting there imagining that her son might go out, take someone's life, and end up in prison. She's definitely not imagining that she could end up in jail herself, unable to take care of her other kids. And yet, that's exactly what happened here with LaToya Donaldson. People are debating this all over, some saying that in these kinds of environments, this reaction is just how it goes. It's survival. Moms in the hood aren't just moms, they're also protectors, doing whatever they can to keep their kids alive. But others argue that this mindset is not only dangerous, but outright irresponsible. They're saying you can't just hand your son a pistol and send him out there to handle things. You can't put yourself in a situation where you're tied to a murder case when you didn't even pull the trigger or point the gun. Think about it. LaToya Donaldson didn't pull a gun on anyone. She wasn't beefing with YBC Dul. She wasn't gang affiliated or even involved in street life. By all accounts, she was just a mother trying to protect her child. She probably thought she was doing the right thing by giving Aiden that rifle, thinking it was for self-defense. But little did she know, Aiden wasn't just some innocent kid trying to protect himself. He was out here terrorizing the community, shooting at people, K-ing with no remorse. Now, because of that one decision, LaToya is facing serious charges, murder and conspiracy to commit murder, all because she handed over that gun. Aiden Waters is just 16 years old, born in 2008. Let that sink in for a second. In 2015, when he was only 7 years old, this same kid was featured on the cover of ESPN magazine. He had potential, dreams, and a whole life ahead of him. But by 16, he was allegedly affiliated with a lesser-known gang called Fast Break, which operates out of the Olney neighborhood. Fast Break is considered the little brother gang to the more notorious M24. On the other side of this story is YBC Dul, the leader of the West Philly Young Bag Chasers gang. Known as Mr. Disrespect, Dul had a reputation as the most disrespectful rapper in Philly. He wasn't just beefing with people for fun. His words carried weight and his name rang bells in the streets. Do you remember the rapper that had this infamous video where he is seen digging up his op's grave? Yeah, that one. That's who we are talking about.
Get dirt up. Hey, yo, where the Carney at, yo? Carney, where the you at? Ah!
While Dul was a talented rapper, he was also infamous for being a central figure in one of Philly's most volatile gang feuds. While his music gained attention, much of his notoriety came from the ongoing war between his crew, YBC, and other rap and gang collectives in the city. This wasn't just beef over music or street credibility. This was deeply personal, and it was escalating with every passing day. One of the final straws that might have sealed Dul's fate happened during a now infamous interview with YouTuber Brandon Buckingham. This interview, which dropped just a day before Dul was gunned down, was like pouring gasoline on an already blazing fire.
My name YBC Dul, but the fans call me Mr. Disrespectful. What they be saying, like, I be trolling, I guess, but I do it to a certain extent. Like, I go overboard. I disrespect people, like, badly.
In it, Dul did something no one in his position would dare to do. He took Buckingham to what he called the war zone. This wasn't just a risky move. It was a declaration of war. Dul was walking through neighborhoods where he knew his rivals lived and operated, fully aware that they would see the video. If that wasn't enough, he went even further and outright called out his ops. Not only did he talk about them, but he also gave away their locations. Dul was out here casually revealing where his rivals lived while cameras rolled. To call this reckless would be an understatement. It's almost as if Dul was daring his enemies to come for him. It's no secret that the streets don't forget or forgive, and moves like this are guaranteed to provoke a reaction. And unfortunately, that reaction came swift and deadly. The interview wasn't just about stirring the pot though. It also gave a glimpse into Dul's world and the origins of YBC. Dul explained that the name YBC, short for Young Bag Chasers, was created back in 2017 by two of his associates, Baby Khan and J100. Back then, the group wasn't about violence or rap beef. They were simply trying to survive and hustle in the streets of Philly, chasing money however they could. Over time, as the group grew, they created a younger subset called YFA, short for Young Fly Assassins. This was where the indoctrination started, bringing younger boys into the fold and teaching them the ways of the streets. What began as a hustle quickly turned into something much darker when tragedy struck the group. On May 29, 2019, one of their members, 15-year-old Joshua David Munson, known as YBC Josh, was gunned down in broad daylight. Josh was walking near his home on 42nd Street and Mantua Avenue when someone pulled up and shot him. He didn't stand a chance. His death devastated YBC, and the fact that his KIR was never caught only made things worse. The group didn't turn to the police for justice. Instead, they turned to the streets. Revenge became their mission, and 10 months later, it's believed they struck back. In March 2020, 19-year-old Nafi Hawkins, also known as Buddy, was playing a game of pickup basketball when he was ambushed and shot multiple times. He was pronounced dead just minutes later. Nobody on the scene spoke to the police, but the word on the street was clear. This was YBC's retaliation for Josh's death. Dul himself seemed to confirm it in his first single, Criminal, where he blatantly bragged about smoking Buddy out the mother effing pound.
Even in the first song that Dul released, you can hear him saying he is, quote, smoking Buddy out the mother pound.
I'm smoking Buddy out the pound, he hit right.
This marked a turning point for Dul. His music wasn't just art, it became a weapon in his war. He used his tracks to taunt his enemies, detailing the violence YBC was responsible for and mocking the dead. The most shocking moment came when Dul reportedly went as far as desecrating a grave to disrespect his ops, but the violence didn't stop there. According to Buckingham, Dul claimed responsibility for 8 Emmy-ders in 2021 alone, with even more bodies allegedly piling up since then. His growing body count and unapologetically disrespectful attitude painted a massive target on his back. Eventually, Dul's notoriety became too much for his rivals to ignore. In an unprecedented move, several opposing collectives united to form a supergroup with one goal: take out YBC Dul. But here's the kicker. Authorities have said there's no clear reason why Aiden or Fast Break would target Dul. There wasn't a major beef, no turf war, or any deep-rooted gang rivalry. So why did it happen? Police believe it all boiled down to one thing: clout. Aiden allegedly wanted to make a name for himself, and what better way to do that than by taking out one of the city's most notorious figures? In his mind, KIing YBC Dul wasn't just a crime, it was a badge of honor, something that would cement his reputation in the streets.
It's called clout chasing, is what we call it. It's what everyone calls it, I guess. You're looking for notoriety, you're looking to make a name for yourself.
We need to find ways to get a hold of these clout chasers, these young people who are oftentimes doing things just to be noticed.
The evidence stacked against Aiden is beyond overwhelming. He's facing a laundry list of charges, including 2 counts of MDR, 6 counts of attempted MDR, 8 counts of aggravated assault, and 9 gun charges, not to mention a bunch of other serious offenses. But here's the craziest part. This is Aiden's first ever arrest. He's never been arrested before this. And with charges this serious, there's a good chance it might also be his last.